Hey Glam Fam! It's my daughter Alexzandria and myself Linwood, and today we're going to be showing you an intricate braided style. So if you are a beginning braider, I don't know how helpful this one will be for you, but I am going to go through some basic principles of parting and things like that as well. So hopefully we'll infuse some of that in there to assist you in your goals.
Well, my dad's going to put fake hair in my hair, and he's going to make box braids.
Yeah. That'll be in some way incorporated. She thinks she knows what's going on, but she has no idea. But there will be some hair added just to help the style last a bit longer, not to add to her length, because her length, when it's stretched, actually is quite long. It reaches down to the middle of her back and the middle of her stomach, and I really don't want hair down her back because I don't need kids thinking they're grown. Okay, Glam Fam, so basically what I did is I went ahead and parted from the high recession point of the parietal ridge all the way around through the crown and back to the left nape. Tilt your head down, Glenn. Back to the left nape, just behind the ear. So I want to make sure that majority of this hair, if you guys can see that there, let me lower this down a bit. I want to make sure that majority of this hair is in. Can you hold your head correctly, please? Thank you.
Oh, upside down.
Okay, so I want to ensure that the majority of this hair is actually in the designed cornrows and not in the individual braids. So what I'm going to do is take this hair here, and I'm thinking, let's see, I'm going to do one panel, two panels. I'm going to do about 3 panels of hair, and I know some of y'all are probably wondering what I'm talking about, but basically what I'm saying is I'm going to go ahead and take a section of hair and round it out. I'm just curving with the head. Okay, turn that head that way just a bit. So right here, we'll go ahead and continue that. There we go. We're just going to clean up those part lines. So notice when I'm doing that, I'm not taking one single part. I'm going to take one large part in order to basically get that general shape down, but then I'm going to go back with the end of my comb and clean that part line up, and that's how you end up getting those part lines nice and neat. I will say when it comes down, especially to dealing with children's hair, it can be really difficult to get your part lines clean because a lot of times they don't like to sit still. So I've got that first panel there. Now Zan took that head from me again. I still have all of this hair here on the back side. So I know I want to split that about in half from right there. And I'm just going to bring it around and rotate. So you guys, when I initially do that, just from movement things, look at that part line. It looks a hot mess. So right in there, I can see, okay, I know I want to start maybe around the tip of the ear here. And I'm just going to follow that general line I created now that I can see the scalp and clean that up. And we're just going to continue that all the way through, cleaning that up. From there, look at the difference in the part line. Makes a massive difference. So I usually start from the top. I'm going to start from the bottom on this one, and that way we can kind of easily focus. Alright, so now once I have that, I'm going to start off by, Zan, can you sit correctly please? Tilt that head just like that. I'm going to start off by creating a rectangular section here. So I'm going to part downward, and we're creating this chunk section there. Alright, once I have done that, let me check my part line. It's clear enough. We're doing a design braid and it's not that kind of design. Okay, so hold still please. So from here, what I'm going to do is we're just going to find a focal point. So I'm going to go from the point of here, and I'm just going to rotate down and around. We're doing a rounded section. So basically my goal is to do a rounded section like that. Now I have a panel in the middle that's about like an eye shape. So just like that there. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and braid this down and around.
Alright, Glam Fam, so you guys can see I am beginning to braid this section down. I do have this sped up some just so you're not watching me braid incredibly slowly. And it does curve around this point here, so I do want you guys to see that. And I'm just going to braid maybe a couple inches beyond where I need. From here, I'm going to start at the same focal point and round up in the opposite direction. And we want to leave out a cat eye section in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and clip out the cat eye, and then we're just going to braid that top section as well. Just like so. And we just speed right on through that.
Alright, so now we have these two braid tiers. I've got on bottom and I have on top, and that leaves me with this cat eye type shape here in the middle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take my comb, and we're going to go right between those braids, and I'm just going to part directly down the center of that cat eye type section. Right down the center. Just like that. And from there I'm just going to pin half of that out of the way, and we will braid the other half like so.
So you guys can see I'm literally just braiding this section straight back, just like I was telling you a moment ago. And then from there, we're going to pick up that top portion of the section. We're going to braid it straight back as well. Super easy, super quick.
Okay, so once we have these 4 braids like this, I want you to think of this in 2 different sections. So we have our bottom section here, and we have our top section here. So I'm going to, because I'm right-handed, it's a bit easier for me to remember, I'm going to bring right over left, and then we're just going to come down to that second step and bring right over left again. Okay, so basically what's happening is the inside braids are going to switch to the outside braids, and the outside braids are switching into the inside braids. So what I'm going to do is just pull that hair on off to the side, and we'll just let this section fall. I'm going to create another rectangular panel. Just like that. And we're going to repeat the steps there. Now turn that head just a little bit towards me, Zan. Now if you guys will notice, there's still this little small panel here that does serve a purpose, so I'm going to make sure to leave that incredibly small rectangle there. Okay, right there. Let's go ahead and start with the bottom till all the way down.
Okay, so here we're just kind of repeating the same process. Now this is going to get a little confusing. So my second braid down is going to go ahead and pass down and become my bottom braid. So it's my inside braid from the top is going to come down and become my bottom braid. And then my inside braid on the bottom is going to become my top outside braid. Okay, my outside braids from the initial one will end up becoming my inside braids. So it gets a little confusing, but hopefully you guys can kind of grasp what I'm talking about here. I understand it could be a bit much to kind of figure out, and I hope that this is really easy to understand because it sounds confusing just trying to describe it. From here, we're doing the straight down the middle part again, and my top braid becomes my center bottom braid. My bottom braid becomes my center top braid. So hopefully you can see what's going on with that.
Okay, you guys, so for this final panel of hair here, what I'm going to do is just separate this into 4 sections. So we're going to go here and separate it in half. And I'm just going to drop half, just like that. And let's see, we'll go ahead and go from the outside. So I'm going to part it in that section in half, just like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull one strand to one side, just like that, and the other strand to the other. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin that one, and then we're going to separate this in half. And this last one was pulled to the right, so I'm going to pull this one to the left. And we're going to leave that bottom one to the right. Okay? So those are my panels there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have a look here. So we've got our bottom and we've got this one here. I'm just going to pin all of the rest of this up out of the way. So remember, this is my inside top. So it's coming from here around and through. So what I'm going to do, if I can just feet down please, all the way, thank you, and head tilted just like that, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick up this hair and I'm just going to braid it to this little panel that I have sectioned off. Okay, remember I said right over left, so I'm going to continue to leave those top two there. We're going to drop this one here. And it's meant to flow down, so I'm going to grab that next strand down. And we're just going to braid it onto that one. Alright, so from there, I've got, this is going to be, this strand here will be my outermost strand because it's the highest up. So I'm going to go ahead and pin up that one. Then I have this bottom braid here. And I've got this braid here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick up and continue braiding. We're just going to pass right on over and pick up at the scalp. Just like so. And just for those who are wondering, Zan, do these braids hurt? You can talk.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Alrighty, and let's see, tilt the head down just a bit, Zan. Thank you. I said a bit, not your whole life, Lord. Right there is fine. Okay, so from here, I'm going to pick up this final braid, which is now my new top braid. And we're going to bring it on up and over, and we just braid it across. Now, part of the reason why I had that little panel and I do it like that is because it allows this to fall a lot more flat instead of leaving a ton of bulk with braids just kind of falling everywhere. So that, and it allows you to still continue that pattern. So even though you've got a very small section of it, it still keeps that crisscross movement going on. So I'm going to do the same thing I did here to these top two sections, and then I'll cut in for the box braids and what we're doing with the ends of these. Alright, Glam Fam, so on this section here, her hairline is a bit different. It's a lot like mine. You see we have those deep hereditary dips there. So I'm not going to start off from a center focal point like I have on some of the other ones, like this one here, where we start from a center focal point. Instead, I'm going to start the outside braids here, and then the inside braids I'll start here, because I don't want to put a ton of stress on that hair that's already very fine in that region. The last thing I want to do is exaggerate a recession point like that in her hairline by adding stress on it, especially because the hair that's usually about that 1/4 of an inch around the entire hairline is a lot more fine than the hair on the rest of the head. As you guys can see, she's got her Kindle Fire out because I lack mental stability to deal with a ton of head movement. Okay, so they've already seen this, Anne. So we're just going to go ahead and get into that. And basically what I'm saying is here, instead of coming from like far inside, I'm going to lightly rotate, and then we'll still end out in the same spot. Okay, so when I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead, bring that up, pin out of my way, and then we'll come, instead of rotating in, sit still please, Anne. Instead of rotating in, I'm going to go ahead and braid down and back like this. It'll still create the same type of flow, but it just respects the integrity of the hairline a bit more. Okay, so from there, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing here. Down and back. And then, let's see. Let's pin that back. Oh, here comes my other one, y'all. And notice all these little fine hairs in here. I don't want that in that braid. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pin that down. I would honestly rather gel that hair around the edge than attempt to braid all of that, because I don't want to add extra stress onto that hairline. That's how people end up losing the thickness in their hairline. Alright, so just like that. From there, I'm going to take this braid here. We're going to separate in two. Just like we have been doing. And pin this up. Here I'm gripping very loosely. I don't want these braids to be overly tight around this edge. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same motions I was doing on everything else right in here. I want you guys to notice there's no wincing or anything like that going on. And trust me, she's a drama queen. If you hit a knot or a tangle, she is going to show out. So from there, we'll just go ahead and braid up that next one. So don't be afraid to accommodate for changes in the hairline. Everybody cannot get the same style of braids where they can do like this, because they may not have that same thickness all the way across. So from there, I would just go ahead and cross over, right over left, or if you prefer left over right. Same thing again here. And then we'll just continue that same braiding pattern like we've been doing everywhere else in the head. Okay, I'm going to continue braiding, and then I'll catch back up with you when all this design is finished. Alright you guys, so the braiding pattern is finished. Let me just tilt that head some. Hey Zan, can you turn your head to the left please? There we go, thank you. So that way you guys can kind of see that design throughout there. Now I've left all of these ends out, and if you want to do a wash and go on this side, you could. My whole purpose in showing you these videos is to give you inspiration, so that way you guys can kind of take these principles and utilize them however you see fit. But what I'm going to do, because I don't feel like doing her hair for the remainder of the week, is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add a little bit of hair in with these braids here, just to help them last a bit longer. And I am going to do box braids on the front portion. So I'll go ahead and show you what I'm doing with the hair over here. Okay, so I have this outre jumbo braid, which is really inexpensive. It's not like, you know, some super souped up hair or anything like that. This is standard hair. Now I will tell you guys, I'm just gonna take this. This is really long, so I don't want her hair to be long. Last thing I need is for her to think that she's grown. Someone pointed it out in one of my other videos and was like, you seem like a really caring dad, but also really strict. You right, boo. So, last thing I need is for her to feel like she lives at someone else's house, because she don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this hair and we're gonna cut it in half. Then from there, I'm gonna start by just kind of taking and pulling those ends up like this here, and we're just going to randomly pull some of those pieces. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to help to make sure that those ends are tapered, so it looks as natural as possible on the ends, especially if you want to put beads or something like that on it. I'm going to ask Alison to do the beads. I hate doing beads. So we're just going to go ahead and pull all of this on up. Okay, so I don't need this braid here to be massive, so what I'm gonna do, I have a small amount of hair here. I'm gonna actually split it in two, and I'm gonna do it in a standard style like feed-in braids. So the only difference is, instead of doing this like a cornrow, I'm going to go ahead and do it similar to a box braid. So basically I'm gonna unbraid this some to right about where I began to pick up some hair in this base section here, and then turn the head towards me. Perfect. Okay, once I get there, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up one of these strands of hair and add it in. If you don't know how to do feed-ins, check out my tutorial on that. And then on that very next step, I'm gonna do the same thing. Just like so. Now, it's not my goal, you guys see how small an amount I added to it. It's not my goal to make that hair extremely thick or even extremely long. My goal is to make this hair look as natural as possible while still helping the style hold and last a bit longer. And that is the plus side to adding in artificial hair, is that it does help out quite a bit with the longevity of the style. So I'm gonna do this through all of these braids that we finished off here, but I'm not gonna show you that part there. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the box braiding portion up here. Now I'll probably go ahead and do some basic cornrows right up there just so that way it's nice and smooth, but I'm not sure yet, so we'll see.
Alright you guys, so I'm stretching the hair here because I want you to see that her hair is about the same length as this extension hair. It passes her hair maybe by about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, which is going to end up being folded up under the beads. So I'm going to go ahead and begin by sectioning this off and box braiding it. I will tell you guys, if you want an in-depth and thorough tutorial on box braiding, I already have one, so I will be sure to link that in the description box as well as the feed-in braids, because yeah, I understand I'm going through several different of my braiding techniques in this one video. So we're just going to continue that. As you can see, it was time for Zan to eat because this was taking a little bit. Alright Glam Fam, so I've went ahead and done box braids up until this point, just past the parietal ridge, and I want it to have more of a full effect along this line so you're not seeing this many partings. So what I'm going to do is actually do cornrows with feed-ins along here, just lightly adding in hairs, that way it can kind of lay and be nice and full along this side. So box braids here for the added fullness, but then feed-in braids along here. So basically what I'm gonna do is, let me tilt that head a little bit this way. I'm gonna come at an angle like this here. I'm just basically angling from that same part line, somewhat coming in an opposite direction, just because I want a certain flow to it and I think it'll look nice. So I'm going to go ahead and clip this hair off to the side, and then this portion of hair here is going to be the area that I braid. Let me turn her a bit because she's too distracted to assist me with this. You see her moving nice and close. And take out a few different pieces of hair. And I'm just going to lay these on the back of the chair. Now, a lot of times I'll place them on like a table, a shelf, anything like that that I can find nearby. But it just depends. So I'm not going to put a ton of hair on this chair. Maybe 4 small pieces, because I don't want it to be something where her hair is massive and, you know, just fake looking. So I'm going to start off with just her natural hair with this braid, and we're going to braid it down some until it begins to naturally thicken some on its own. So braiding it down just like so, and it's now beginning to thicken up some where I feel like I can easily blend. So I'm going to go ahead and take a piece of hair and we're going to add that on in. And then from there, I'm going to just continue braiding down a couple steps. And then I'm going to add in another piece. And it looks like I may only need 3 pieces, so we're going to just do it just like that. Okay, now the nice thing about this is because it's cornrow down, it'll also keep it out of her face because she does wear glasses. And that way I don't have to worry about hair all in her face all day either. So I'm going to go ahead and braid right on down here. And then I'll just continue this process all the way through the remainder of this top section. Now, I will say, someone asked me recently on one of my braiding videos how I ended up getting to a point of being able to braid so quickly. And honestly, I will say a lot of it just comes down to practice and doing it quite frequently. I want you guys to keep in mind that I braid all the time. I've been braiding since I was 5. So when it comes down to plaiting and things like that, I am rather swift. So I will say practice and putting yourself under pressure. Give yourself a time limit and a time budget to start doing stuff. And you'll notice that when you're under a time budget, that you learn how to braid a lot quicker because you've got other stuff going on. If you give yourself free time, I will say a lot of times too, if I'm sitting down, I braid significantly slower. So standing helps me out. I know that sounds weird, but it really does. All right, I'm just going to continue. I'll let you guys see a bit. I'll probably speed it up some so you're not feeling bored. All right, you guys, so Alison and I are putting the beads on there, and I will say if you don't have a threader, what you can do is just take a bobby pin, place it on the ends of the hair, just like so, and then just go ahead and bring it on around. So I need 3 beads, please. Okay, so we're doing 3 wooden beads. We got 1, 2, and 3, and then just pull through. You're gonna take your rubber band, bringing the ends of it up around that last bead, and then just rubber band it around that one. Now I did braid slightly past her hair just so I could snip the excess off of the ends. So I'm gonna go ahead and push those down, and that excess hair that sticks out there, I'm just gonna trim. Just like that. Alright, you guys, so Alison is putting a bit of foaming wrap on here just to help lay Zan's edges down. If you have little flyaways, you can also lay them down with that. This isn't a voiceover, so Alison is actually just doing this now. But she's got this soft brush. It's like a wave brush, but it's a bit softer. And she's just using that to kind of mold this hair in place. Alison is more of the fanatic when it comes down to edges and all that. So, you know, I said, you know what, hey, Alison, do you want to go ahead and lay these? And so she was like, yeah, I'll get them laid. So that's her situation. Do you have anything that you'd like to add, dear?
I love this stuff I'm using.
Just so you guys know, this is the foaming wrap that she's using. Is the Carol's Daughter Hair Milk foaming wrap or styling foam.
Yeah, it is like the best, and it seems like, you know, I guess depending on your hair texture, it foams up even more and it's even better. And you can just re-wet it and redo whatever you want to do.
Lord, you got it down Zan's entire face, Lord.
Well, you know, you got to do that because you don't want those ends popping up. Like we didn't give you permission. We didn't give you no permissions.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, it disappears over time, but it doesn't leave any flaking. It doesn't show up again later. You can reactivate it, but it won't turn white or nothing like that.
Yeah, it is nice in terms of the fact that it does not, it doesn't flake up at all. And it's also not super crunchy. It's a soft yet firm hold for some reason. I don't know how else to explain that. So here's the braids on the side. And we're just going to continue to turn her. Alright, now it's going into the box braids on the opposite side here. Which, as I showed you guys earlier, this is really like the length of her hair. I have 1 pack of hair in here. Because I'm amazing and I am definitely a conserver of hair. So, yeah. Hold on just a moment. Then I'm going to turn it so you can see yourself, okay? What do you think?
I think it's pretty.
Are you excited? You won't have to do your hair for a while, so that'll make you really happy.
Bless the Lord.
Yay!
Alrighty, so until next time, you guys, take care and God bless. Thank you so much for watching Glam Fam. Zam, what do you want to say?
I love my hair so much.
Okay. Well, we're glad you like it. So until next time, take care, God bless, and bye-bye.